Welcome to my farm maxing Nekros guide. The best solo farming build you can get for the Nekros, although using it in the team setup would be way better. Having a Wispin team will greatly increase your survival, and for example a Nidus will greatly increase your ability strength, which is just perfect for the build. The most important thing we need for the build is Atlas Petrify Subsum onto our 4, so losing Shield of Darkness is the main thing that puts the toll on your survivability. In mind that this build is not for everyone. It's completely min-maxed tryhard mode build to give you the most loot you possibly can. So, with that in mind, let's go over the build. Main thing about this build is Orgaze, which scales with strength. So we will get as much strength as we can on our 4th ability, that's why we go with Precision Intensify. We will try to get the highest possible kill per second, so we will go with Transient Fortitude because the time of Petrify on targets is irrelevant. We need to kill as many as quickly we can. Blind Rage is also a must because it's a mod that gives us the most strength we can get out of a mod. And Adaptation is gonna be our main source of survival, and Stretch is gonna be our only source of range. And Prime Flow and Equilibrium being our energy sustain mods. And for the last but not least, Orgaze. That's an augment for Petrify which scales with your ability strength. And this is exactly why we are using Growing Power in our Aura slot and Power Drift in our Exilus. Mold Augmented gonna be used to further increase your ability strength over time. And after adding some Red Tau Forged Archon Shards for ability strength to the mix, this is how our Petrify looks like on the tooltip. And just keep in mind that it's before we stack all our external sources of ability strength like Mold Augmented or possibly a teammate. This is my personal best result on Petrify while I was solo. 189% drop chance. Solo. So just imagine you have Nidus with his parasitic link in your team to increase your ability strength, or people with power donation in your team. It's just crazy results. So we can clearly see this thing can go over 200% extra loot chance pretty easily. So to make it even more crazy, let's add our Smita to the mix. Just imagine this one pet procs pickup buff twice for you. I had a one run I was doing for Argon crystals. I got double proc, 5 minutes of survival in mod, steel pot. I got 38 Argon crystals. The obvious sad part about Smita is the fact that the buff is completely random. So, to still have some use of the pet, we go for the Bite and Tenacious Blunt to get increase on the final crit multiplier. We'll also use Loyal Companion to get some extra survival, and we're gonna use Pack Leader to get the pet survival as well. Moving on to one of the biggest tryhard parts of this entire build, and that part will be our beloved book. I'm low-key proud of myself that I finally found a way to use that. And the main reason we're gonna use it is the Voam Invocation. It gives you a total of 60% ability strength, which we can't really pass on in this build. The Exilus I'm using is Loch, but I don't think it really matters which one you use, because as far as I know, you have to hold your Grimoire the moment you kill. So not only it has to tag the enemy with its damage, it also needs to be held when the enemy dies. And I'm myself mainly using a melee weapon to do the killing. And speaking about the melee weapon, I'm using Hating Carnon myself. It has high slash damage, but whenever I'm going up against any type of Greenear or any other ferrite armor type of unit, I'm adding up some corrosive onto my build, especially because my Riven has electricity. And as you can see, it deals with acolytes pretty well. And Science Hate compared to Ripcat is pretty crazy weapon. I'm using melee fortification instead melee exposure because I'm solo. But if I was in a team setup and I would have any kind of survival, for example Dante, Wisp, any kind of like HP increase or overguard, I would be using melee exposure just to get some extra damage. But as you just saw, one heavy attack and the acolyte is gone even if I have melee fortification on. But don't get it twisted. This and adaptation will not keep your ass safe at all times. You need kill per second to be matched to get all the stacks you need at all times, and even then it's not like your shield of shadows. This is why this build is perfectly played in a team setup, when you can get some extra ability strength from teammates or some extra survival from your teammates. But whenever I'm solo, I'm using Nidus Spectre just to get that extra little bit of ability strength. And on top of that, I also use Madurai for the sling strength and for the casting speed it provides. So basically what I do every 20 seconds is I hop into Madurai, I get my sling strength up, and I use alternate fire on enemies to get that extra juicy ability strength. It's really annoying to do that every 20 seconds all the time, but that's 100 ability strength increase. Like, it's really hard to pass on when you're going into min-maxed build like that. And one thing that I was missing in my Grimoire is that radiation mod we got from Kavya. It helps you to distract the enemies when you get the alternate fire, pumping up your ability strength. And I also understand that not everyone is a fan of melee, so if you rather to use a primary weapon instead, you just need a very strong primary with AoE capabilities, like for example a Torrid. Torrid is probably the best for it, because it's simply the most broken weapon in the game, has the easiest way of charging an Incarnon, and has like one of the best damage output. Plus, it chains to enemies, making it a AoE weapon. But in the case when you wanna use primary instead, you will be needing Amalgam Ripcast True Steel. You only have to have this mod equipped, you don't have to kill with Ripcast to get the gore chance. It just simply makes every weapon being capable of splitting enemies in pieces. Although, I'm not entirely sure how it works with Petrify and splitting enemies into pieces, but I'm 100% sure that you can desecrate corpses out of Petrify at least once. So basically just avoid weapons like Sobek, which completely disintegrate the corpses when you kill them. And in case of Torrid, I would be using this build. Instead of the Riven, if you don't have one, just use, I don't know, Amalgam Serration to get some more movement speed. And the Exilus slot is completely an option. You either want like 10% extra chance to increase tier of your crits, just go for the Vigilante supplies. If you don't want, just don't even unlock it. I don't know, Torrid is weapon pretty broken enough to freely feel free to completely unlock the slot, you will not waste it. And if you wonder why Nekros is the best platform to use the Petrify on, and for example not Atlas, it's just because Nekros' loot ability is on his 3, so his 4 is free. His 4 is the biggest defensive he has, but I'm willing to sacrifice it to increase the loot to the maximum point of it. And so far, whenever I needed the build, I gave it a spin, and it always gave me the results I expected it will. I don't really struggle to survive. I tried it in a team setup once, and then like all the negative problems that are ever like present on this build, they are completely gone. Compared to Korra, which I enjoy way more, and I think overall Korra is way better frame, her augment does not scale with ability strength, and on top of that, her augment is on her 4th ability, so you cannot subsum it to get 90% ability strength for free from the Precision Intensify. But Nekros is also a frame that you usually don't use any ability strength whatsoever, because his Desecrate does not scale with the ability strength either. And I'm pretty sure it's only Petrify that scales with ability strength to give more than it initially gives. And this is why I also prefer melee weapon in this build, because by not having usual range mods on Nekros, I rather just kill everything in my melee range and loot it instantly afterwards. I honestly think it's worth it completely, like having 200% drop chance possibility from just Petrify in a team setup is just a crazy value you cannot really like pass on. Because remember, the usual farming team consists like Korra and Nekros. And Strangledome and Desecrate both put together are lower than the Petrify. And if you use Hydroid instead, who has like a little bit more percentage, because I believe it's 100, than Korra's Strangledome, you will still not get the Petrify value with Nekros Desecrate added into the mix. There's one caveat to the build, because normally you would think like, okay, let's do this build and get a Korra or Hydroid. But you cannot Petrify anything that's held by the Strangledome, nor the Tentacles or Strangledome gonna hold the Petrify targets. Therefore, for this build, the perfect team would be Nidus, basically any other frame that can give you ability strength or some survivability. Also a good pick is a Nova to speed up the enemies and possibly use power donation to give you that ability strength you crave for. So anything that gives you any ability strength is a good go for this, because I didn't see Orgaze to have any like upper limit of the drop chance. For the Archon shards, I would use 5 ability strength straight up. But I consider also trying a build with 2 yellows for casting speed, cause even though I try to keep up my Madurai buff 24/7 when I play this build, I still kinda feel like Petrify is quite clunky. And here on the footage I'm gonna try to get all the ability strength I can get while I'm solo, and just watch the result on the Petrify. Just need to rebuff my Madurai Void Sling strength and my Grimoire invocation, and let's see. I'm in solo mode, so the game will pause, so I have nothing to worry, and look at that. Isn't it beautiful when you want to drop some nanospores, some argon, or whatever you wanna drop? 189% chance for the enemy to drop extra load, plus desecrate afterwards. And that's also while you're completely solo. So just imagine what you can achieve in a coordinated team. And all you have to sacrifice for this build is fun, because this build is the furthest thing from fun. And violence came to get some violence. A good guy came in just to give me some steel essence. Also, adding projectile speed mod to the Grimoire can be a really good idea, because this projectile from alternate fire is kind of slow. And most of the time when I die, it ends up to be like the Grimoire buff when I try to rebuff it. Because the first projectile miss, I try to charge it back to get it back ASAP. That's basically most cases when I die is just because of this. I should really try to just like petrify my targets first, to be fair. I keep forgetting, even if I don't have the duration, the petrify is still like heavily over a 10 sec duration, so remember to put Carni's Stinger on your Grimoire, so whenever you need, you can heavy attack, kill some stuff, and get that status immunity. Put another Carni's mod on your melee weapon when you go against infested, because Slash is pretty good into that, and you're gonna have like 4 seconds of the status immunity, which is just crazy good into infested. Like, the toxin is pretty annoying without it. Although it's a bit easier for me, because I have a Riven with heavy attack efficiency, which I didn't like at first, but I realized how godlike it is to have. And that would be all of it for the guide. Let's see what I got from that 5-minute run I went to get some nanospores. That's of course with all the possible resource boosters, resource chance boosters, resource chance blessing. I'm pretty damn lazy when it comes to farming resources, not gonna lie. That's why I wanted a build that can juice out the most drop that you can get in the game. My Helmint can vouch for that build. Hope y'all liked it and enjoyed the build. And if you did, please like, comment, share and subscribe. See ya on the next one.